Look, everybody
with no
should
clothes
have their
on.
authentic self at home.
Sure.
That's where you can be
Or
your
with your
authentic self.
friends,
That's
or
where
what
you
have
can
you,
fart
you know?
if you want.
But,
That's
like,
where you can
you
have
don't
bad breath.
expect
That's
to-
where you can have halitosis. That's
You
where
don't
you can
expect to
pick
go
your
to
nose.
work and be your authentic self.
Yeah.
Like your boss doesn't want that.
This
Your
is-
boss wants you to do a job.
Don't give me that authentic self stuff. Everybody has a forward-facing face that they put on when they go out in public.
A T-shirt.
And it's because that's how society works, right? The idea
It's
that
the
you
civil
can
religion.
just
You're
that
supposed
you
to
can
go
just
out there and be part of life with everyone else.
Just the idea that you can just go and walk around being your authentic self, no matter how other people are, how it affects other people, is absolutely ridiculous. It is a total innovation. It's only been something that people talk about in the past 5-10 years, 10-15 years or so. No, don't be your authentic self, because your authentic self is disgusting.
You can take your authentic self to Canada.
Yeah, I mean, you want somewhere else.
Aspects
take
of
it to
yourself,
Canada.
obviously, you want to like open up and become a more real human. But like nudity, you know, the authentic self argument is a slope to nudity and nudists, and people being like, I don't need to wear clothes.
I mean,
I'm
that's
being
just-
my honest self.
That's being light about it. Your authentic self, okay. I want to hear what Antifa has to say when a bunch of white supremacists want to be their authentic selves marching around in public.
Yeah,
They don't want
ridiculous.
it. What they're advocating for is that they get to do whatever they want, whenever they want, with no consequences.
I thought that when they were talking about equity too, they said it's a opportunity to, it's right to use your personal. I don't know how she phrased
equity?
it. Your personal efforts to provide equity, but then they're using
Equity?
public funds to do it. That's not their personal. Like, yeah, if you want to provide equity for people, if I want to make an environment where we all have an opportunity, okay. But if I'm going to use public funds to do it, you got a big problem.
Equity is not equality. Equity means everybody has the same outcomes. So what they're saying is everybody's all the same. There's no one that's better at anything or worse at anything. And when you take that idea and you apply it to a job like police officer or fireman, you end up with dead people.
I got an idea. We are going to put on a music show, rock concert. And of course, because we believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, I would like to make sure we're inclusive of all different ideas. Libby, why don't you tell us how you think the rock concert should be put off? And we'll ignore Phil's opinion as a platinum rock star because he's a white man.
That's great. I think that we should have a tap routine and we should do some musical numbers.
You should also get some.
I personally would like to sing an aria, even though I have never sung opera before.
Let's get some architects
White
in there
man
to sing
sticking his
also.
nose right in,
I
trying
think
to talk over
definitely
Libby.
architect.
Yeah, but he's
I think that's a great
neurodivergent.
idea.
Yeah, we got to make sure that we get stonemasons in there to sing, especially the ones that have never had a chance to sing before. We got to make sure everyone gets a chance to sing at this concert. No, you want the best. That's why you do it.
I saw a video where someone was actually arguing, it was a black woman, that DEI means that when they're practicing medicine, their tribal holistic practices should be considered the same as medical doctors.
I've seen this. and this
Alternative
is
way.
such
It's
a
called
terrible
alternative
idea.
ways of knowing. They say
Yeah.
alternative forms of knowledge, alternative ways of
What is
knowing.
alternative forms of knowledge?
Alternative
is-
facts.
It's a purely relativist perspective.
What does
that mean?
Yeah, it's
In the medical
relativist.
community, in the scientific community, what does that mean?
So it's relativist. Louis, right? It is relativist. Oftentimes they'll look at traditional medicine. So they're talking about things like Native Americans or whatever they call it, First Nations or whatever the
is that
correct.
what we call it now? First
Apparently,
Nations?
yeah, that's what they call it in Canada.
That's
So,
Canadian,
I've
but the-
never heard that before. First
Justin
Nation.
Trudeau says it a lot.
Okay.
But
I don't listen.
But
to
the
that. I don't listen to that guy.
Look, essentially, it boils down to they're talking about witch doctors. Okay, they're like, this is these ways of knowing have been passed down for generation and generation through tribal peoples and stuff, and it's something that we should accept into our lexicon, and it's something that we should acknowledge. I reject that entirely. I completely and totally only want verifiable scientific evidence, things that are repeatable in a controlled test.
But this house, we believe in science.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the scientific method is flawed. It says if you can't reproduce it, then it doesn't exist. And they'll be like, if you can't, but there are miracles. Like things happen once, and you're like, whoa, how did
No,
that happen? I
that's
still can't figure it out.
that's alternative ways of knowing, and you can believe that. That's fine, but when it comes to like applying it to everybody, you can't say, "Well, this one time there was a miracle, so we're going to say everybody should do this."
For instance, Reiki, healing hands, like that's over time, over history has been people have said yes. Some men, there are healers.
I'm not.
I don't think you should exclude it.
I had
but
Reiki
I don't
healing
think,
one time. It was
I think you
cool.
should absolutely
I
exclude
would
it.
absolutely.
From
I
like
wouldn't
insurance
put
and
it.
stuff?
I wouldn't put
Yes,
it in insurance
absolutely.
or
But what if it
medical
works?
stuff, but it helped.
Prove it.
It I thought it was
How do you
cool one
prove-
time.
You do it. You heal
Do it
somebody.
over and over and over.
Like
and if you
anecdotally?
can't if
No,
you
not
can't repeat
anecdotally.
it-
Like
Listen.
you have to be able to run a control experiment, and
Right.
you have to determine through that process that it's actually effective every single time.
I
like Advil.
I was reading about how people used to drink mercury to cure syphilis. And it didn't.
Oh my gosh.
didn't
why
work,
were, okay,
right?
why were we reading this? Why were we?
Oh, I read a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
read
read tons of stuff.
everything.
Well, so antibiotics is fascinating to me, especially around the conversation that antibiotic-resistant strains are emerging,
Yep.
and we may have to
Yep.
move on to something different.
Yeah.
And so something came up on the show. We were talking about people drinking mercury to cure syphilis. It didn't actually do it. What happens is syphilis goes dormant, and so people thought they were getting better.
And
Now
they were
imagine-
spreading syphilis.
Oh yeah, imagine. Well,
And
actually, if
making
it's-
themselves crazy. They were making themselves
Right, they were
literally
poisoning
mad as
themselves.
hatters. Yeah.
So imagine what would happen if you went back 500 years with antibiotics and said, take this, trust me, it works. Like, people have no idea. They would take it and feel better, and they would assume it's true. Over a long enough period of time, we now know, because you get a bacterial infection. Or actually, did you guys see that show? It was like 1897 or whatever it was called, the Taylor Sheridan show. Was that what it was called, 1897? I probably got the year wrong. You search on that microphone.
That was popular for a minute.
Well, it was a miniseries. But the story ends when the chick gets shot with an arrow, and the Native Americans would dip the arrowheads in crap to make it infectious.
That in Vietnam
Oh,
too.
that's right. That's
and then they're like, she's going to get an infection and die. And it's like, wow, that's pretty wild, because today you go to the doctor and some like fat nurse would like roll in her chair, open a drawer, and grab a bottle of pills and be like, you'll live. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.